Yeah, I am Peter Reekie. I'm the Director of Finance at the Scottish Futures Trust. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on the Scottish Futures Trust and what we do. I know a number of you will have heard that in different forums now, so I wanted to concentrate on a couple of examples of what I think are truths and myths to help stimulate the debate and discussion during today. And I'll try and keep it brief as well so that we can have some of that discussion in the time available. So we were established to try and improve the value delivered for public sector infrastructure investment across all of Scotland, and more recently to help all the public bodies across Scotland and Scottish Government make better use of their own physical assets, their land, their building assets, and I'll come back to that in a wee minute. One of my jobs is to coordinate across Scotland the non-profit distributing programme of investment that Nicola Sturgeon mentioned, and that's an additional £2.5 billion of investment over and above capital budgets that reflects the importance that the government and indeed I hope all of us place on infrastructure investment at a time of great economic difficulty. And this investment is privately financed through our Scottish non-profit distributing formula, which means that the public sector and taxpayers in the end will pay for that infrastructure as it is used from future budgets rather than paying for it up front with scarce capital budgets now. And the judgment in all of that is that the value that can come from doing infrastructure investment now makes it worthwhile incurring what are necessarily the costs of financing that infrastructure to pay for it over a long period of time. Now we could debate whether or not that's right, but the judgment is that the massive economic value that comes from investing now, the jobs, the training, and all the outcomes that Nicola Sturgeon talked about are worth using that way of delivering infrastructure. We also run the Hub programme, which is in 5 regions across Scotland, the development of partnerships across the public sector and with a private sector partner for the planning and delivery of community infrastructure. A lot of schools and health centres and other assets for local authorities and health boards will be delivered through that Hub model. And Hub is not a framework, it's akin to a framework, so we can have a discussion at some point with Willie and others about whether that's a good or a bad way to go about procurement. I believe it does deliver efficiency, it delivers work for large organisations and for small organisations, and it allows us some flexibility, but most importantly, it helps public bodies join up in planning their infrastructure needs, and again, I'll come back to that. We're working on the National Housing Trust, a new way of delivering affordable housing, working with local authorities across Scotland, and that's now got contracted 1,000 units of affordable housing delivered with a very minimum level of budget from the public sector. So it looks at not providing housing in perpetuity, it provides housing for a period of between 5 and 10 years in an affordable housing model where the value of that asset in the future for sale can help us bring that housing about now, so deliver the jobs, etc., for and opening up building sites where the housing is going to be developed, but also make affordable housing available for 5 years. Again, not in perpetuity, but it delivers something now which we believe is a worthwhile contribution to the overall mix of infrastructure investment. As I said, we're looking at asset management and improving the use of the public sector estate, the central estate, the Scottish Government's own building and land, the local estate working with health boards and local authorities. And we're also looking at reducing the carbon footprint of the public sector estate through things like moving to LED street lighting, where we're helping local authorities look at the technology involved and the commercial ways that you can deliver that. Because we have to merge the technology with commercial delivery structures to allow these things to happen. It's all very well having LED streetlights that can save money and can save carbon, but if we can't work out the procurement route that we can effectively deliver that without everyone going through the thinking in 32 local authorities 32 times as to how to deliver that, and coming up with 32 different answers that we put to the market and ask 32 groups of people to respond to in different ways, then it's to deliver efficiency in how we go about bringing those technologies into Scotland. So against that background, some of the truths and myths as I see them. First of all, I think it's a truth that the public sector in Scotland has too much space. We do not need all the land and buildings we have. The public sector cannot afford to keep all the land and buildings it has. I've said many times before, if we won't maintain it, or we haven't got the money to maintain it, we shouldn't retain it. We need to think really carefully about what land and buildings we need and where we need them. We've developed for the first time across Scotland a database on a mapping system of all of the public sector's land and buildings. We're about 80% of the way there, 85% of the way there. So everyone in the local authorities and health boards can look at a geography, the town that they're working in, they're planning for in the future, and see which other agencies, which other public bodies have got assets in that area. We've been, in my view, spectacularly bad at understanding the totality of a place and the public sector's footprint in a place before we plan what to build new or what to refurbish in an area. And we hope that this tool of bringing together in one sort of central location all of those assets will really help us plan the future of assets in a place-based way. The next step on that is to link that database of assets to all the information we have on demographics so that we can see where we have buildings in areas where there's particularly high population growth, or where we have buildings in an area where the population is aging particularly differently from in other areas, so that we can help to plan services and the buildings based on a proper knowledge of how demographics interacts with the buildings we've got. Just as a quick stat, this is my only statistic, the amount of building space that the public sector has in Scotland is around about 19 million square metres. And I was going to do that in football pitches, because everyone does football pitches as the analogy. But it's still 2,700 football pitches, so it's still too big to really understand. I looked for another sporting analogy, and the Grand Prix was in Monaco. So I thought I'd try and compare it with the size of Monaco. And we've got 10 times the land area of Monaco in public sector buildings in Scotland, floor space. So 10 whole countries worth. I mean, Monaco's a small country, I admit that, of public sector floor space. It's just too much. We cannot afford to keep it all. And we need to think really carefully about how we come out of that space to keep communities sustainable as we change to new ways of working. I think it's a myth that some ways of procuring buildings and delivering lead to better outcomes for the buildings themselves or for communities than other ways of procuring and financing. Whether you do public finance, private finance, traditional architect-led or design and build contracting, large scale, small scale, all of these things can lead to great outcomes for the buildings themselves that are developed, for the infrastructure assets, and for the communities and the people in which they're sited. The difference is how well you do the activity. So if you do a great large-scale procurement, my view is that it can lead to as good an outcome for the communities around it as a great small-scale procurement. So my view on procurement, and Surf has provided a link, I think, to a speech I gave at the David Hume Institute, and I agree with Willie's comments on this, is that it's all about the quality of the decision-making and the people that are trained and developed to do that procurement, and bringing in construction professionals, people that understand buildings and building development. Again, I'm an engineer by background, so I have a little bit of an insight into this, is really, really important. Procurement, in my view, is necessarily based on judgment. People have to make decisions based on information that's not perfect and complete that's put in front of them. We need to recognise that and allow people and train people properly, give them the skills and the support they need to make those judgments really well so that we can streamline procurements. I think it's a truth that we in the public sector are getting better at joining up across bodies. I think community planning partnerships have a great role to play in this. The work that we're doing in asset management across the public sector will hopefully help, so that health boards, local authorities, the new National Police Service, the Fire and Rescue Service can all understand what assets they've got. And we're starting to do place-based reviews of the public sector asset base. We're working in Moray, we're working in Dumfries, Ayr, Dumbarton, and 2 neighbourhoods in Edinburgh to look at the totality of the public sector asset base in that area, how we can make best use of it, if it needs to be reduced, how we can reduce it best to leave that area and all the businesses around it, the micro businesses that are supported by those public assets, sustainable, but also right-size that asset base and make it sustainable for the public sector. We can't just keep space because it's there and it always has been there. We need to make our services sustainable and our asset base sustainable whilst leaving communities sustainable as well. That's tricky. I'm not saying it's easy. It's going to be really hard. But having all that information together and doing things in a joined up way, which we are doing better, I think is really necessary. And finally, I wanted to end up in another myth. And I very much hope this is a myth, but you'll no doubt tell me. I think it's a myth that we want different things. I speak as someone that's sort of near the centre of infrastructure investment and Scottish Government. I'm not part of the Scottish Government, but we're near to that. And I work on generally pretty large projects. I do not want different things from people that work in local communities on small projects all the time. We want value for communities. We want value for money. We want better social outcomes from our projects. We want jobs to be protected. We want to localise the economic impact. We want young people to be trained and to have sustainable, good quality jobs. We want resilient communities. We want to improve the environment that we live in. We want low carbon buildings. We want energy efficient buildings. We want all of these things. And we can deliver those through large projects and small projects. We need big projects. Aberdeen needs a bypass. It needs a western peripheral route to help sustain that economy and grow that economy. That's going to cost £500 million. It is a massive project. But for that area, we need it. In my own community in Edinburgh, we're developing a community hydroelectric scheme. Now, that will be a great asset for that community, and it's a lot of people are putting a lot of time and effort into that project, but that is equally great for that community. If we do big things really well or little things really well, it can deliver great outcomes. So I think it is a myth that sort of we, if you like, in the centre want a different thing from people in local communities. At least I very much hope it is. Thank you.